The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly podcast coming to you on June 17th, 2021, late Thursday night here in South Florida. How you guys doing? Been a little bit since the solo pod here. But anyway, glad to be here with you guys. Of course, this podcast, you can find all podcast catchers on such as Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon Music. I'm sure there's something else right now. I'm actually right now, as we speak, trying to queue up this game. Right now, I'm recording this just as a third quarter of Game 6 of the Brooklyn Nets Milwaukee Bucks series. The Bucks are up. I don't say big lead, but it's about 11-point lead at halftime. But you know, I mean, talk about the playoffs in a second, but I've been feeling pretty decent lately. I've been getting a lot of compliments lately, you know, whether it's at work or just in society as a whole, whatever. And I think a lot of reasons why is that I've kind of sort of not on purpose have been accomplishing doing intermittent fasting. Now, I've spoken to you guys on this podcast before in the past that this is something I started doing before COVID. My wife and I started doing this, and I think once COVID started, we kind of fell off the wagon a little bit because obviously we were in the house the entire day. We had to adjust to for 10 weeks of just, you know, being home and not and having to eat and all that. And I made the joke that I was married to my kitchen for a little while, my fridge, things of that nature. But I've kind of sort of got, and it's funny because like I'm not on purpose doing it. Like, I'm aware how late I eat, but I've been eating less. I've been kind of not on purpose, you know, doing more portion control. Now, a lot of it, too, also is my work schedule. It's actually normalized in the last year and a half, 2 years. That's helped. You know, I've been in my same job for almost about 18 years now, and most of the time I've been working where I've been at. I've worked mid shifts or nights. I've worked a mixture of days and nights, whatever. But I've almost always had a point where I work nights at least once, twice a week, if not more. And then about 2 years ago, I went to full days. And I mean, thank God for that. First off, because I can't handle nights anymore because of my lifestyle. Because number one, I'm not, as I said, I'm not as efficient as a parent when I'm working nights and having to wake up early in the morning and deal with the kids and take them to school and all that. I'm grateful that I'm able to adjust, and I've now adjusted to being that, you know, I mean, let's face it, I'm back to being a 9-to-5er, which is something I really something I really wanted anyway. But you know, I guess now with life becoming more and more structured, and I need that structure, especially for myself, and I benefit from that structure. It's been good to me. And one of the things that's been benefiting, you know, of course, is I can't say my diet, because I'm not eating anything better than I have in many years. But I've cut back on the eating late and the, just binge eating in certain spots a day and all that. So I've lost inches in my stomach and inches in my body in general, and people are noticing that. And I didn't notice that. I really didn't notice it that much until I started noticing some of my shirts starting fitting me looser, and my pants, some of my pants and my shorts are falling off my waist now. I'm like, what's this weird? I mean, again, I'm not like over the top, like eating healthy and eating clean and, you know, turning vegan and all that. No, I'm still, I can really honestly cut back on a lot of crap. Number one, one of the things I need to work on is my water intake again. I need to increase my water intake. I need to eat more fruits, more veggies. Protein's fine as long as I'm eating the right protein and carbs and all that. But I really haven't been, the biggest change really has been not eating late, and also not, like I said, this being a little more, not overeating really. That's one of the things I also had a problem with for years. I used to overeat. If I ate dinner, I had to have second and the third plate just because. Whereas now I eat one plate and I'm good. I eat one nice plate of food, I'm good. But intermittent fasting has been great for me though too, because it's given me structure. Because you choose the most popular one is where you choose 24 hours a day. So you choose 8 hours of the day. This is the most popular one, and then those 16 hours you allow your body to recover. So you have 8 hours a day. So in my case, I would probably choose the hours of 11 to 8. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, 11 to 7 to eat. So I can eat between 11 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock in the evening. This is an example of what I've been mostly doing in the last few months. Now, I don't follow it strictly either. Like, I will sometimes go a little bored. Most of the time, I'll do more of the either 9:15 or even I was also as far as saying 10:14, because there'll be days I'll eat breakfast at like 9 in the morning or 10 in the morning, and then I'll eat my last meal probably at about maybe 8 o'clock, depending on, how we are at home. So we'll make a late dinner sometimes, or because I don't get home probably about some nights until 6, and then I gotta make dinner, and then my wife and I won't be able to sit and eat until about 7, and then put the kids in. So it depends on how that works out, on the schedule. But the intermittent fasting is good because it gives you structure. It gives you structure. It gives me structure especially too, and I've noticed the results. Now if I can start eating healthier, that'll be even more helpful. You know what I mean? But you gotta start somewhere. So. I'm pro intermittent fasting. I'm pro that heavily. So lately, when I started this year, one of my biggest goals was to start writing more. Last year, I remember saying that I had a goal. I wanted to write more in 2020, and I had spots here and there where I did write. I started off the year writing somewhat, couple good blogs a day, not a day, but a week, and then at some point during COVID, it tailed off. You figure with COVID, I had more time, but I never stuck with it. So I may write one blog here, wait 2-3 months, write another blog here. So when 2021 came about, I, promised myself, or made this internal promise anyway, that I was going to write more. And I did start writing more out the gate. I actually started the first 2 months of this year. I really got serious, and not just because I, wanted to do it to make money and all that, and all that. I wanted to write more because I feel like, for me anyway, and it's been for years, that when I feel like I'm the most expressive, even more than in podcasting, to be honest with you. And I love podcasting, obviously. But writing is the most intimate form of expression for me. Even when I was doing music, it was the same thing too. And, so I wanted to get back to that. I wanted to get back to just kind of writing about anything. It had to be long form all the time. It can be short form. It can be anything. As long as I'm writing something down. But I find it harder for me to really lay down and do that. Like, I came out the year, start the year 2021, out the gate, writing a couple blogs, first couple months, if not more. And then after March, really, I just haven't done anything. I don't think I've written a blog since March, honestly. And I think a lot of it, too, also, I think there's a number of reasons why I have a hard time getting back into that mode of writing. For me, anyway, and doing, this, Earnestly Media, having this podcast, the Unfiltered podcast, the Take 3 Wrestling podcast I do every Thursday, which I'm actually going to be recording after I finish recording this. And then, my wife's and I's podcast we just relaunched recently. Or rebranded, however you want to call it. I'm so, into the digital form of things. I'm so really into all that it's taken away the desire to sit and just gather my thoughts and just spill away. And that's the thing. Life is so, at least my life anyway, it's not that it's hectic, but it's so much I'm doing now, between the podcast, between parenting, between being a husband, between going to work, between doing all the necessary house things I have to do. There's so many other things I'm doing right now that for me to lock in and to write, it requires my brain slowing down and doing nothing and literally just sitting and just focusing. And I don't have that time. The only time I can do that really is late nights. And honestly, I can't afford to be going bed late like I used to. Like a lot of my writing I used to do back in the day was late nights. But back then, because I worked late, because didn't have kids at the time, and I had more time to invest in that. Now, any little bit of time I have to record a podcast or to do that, I'm going to use that to record a podcast. Like, I prefer to record podcasts over writing, but I think writing is the most expressive of the two mediums. So I have a hard time balancing that. So it's almost like to the point now, like, am I even a writer anymore? Do I even care to write anymore? Is that something I should still try to endeavor into? Like, I really have these thoughts in my head now, like, and the thing is, I enjoy it, but it's still work. Like, it's of all the mediums I do in terms of creating content, that's the one I find the hardest. Not that it's hard to write and to come up with stuff. It's really the one thing, because I can sit here and talk and just spill out thoughts about the NBA and spill out thoughts about my life and my kids and all that. That's easy to do. That's easy. That's something that's, blah, blah, blah. I do it all day long without a microphone. But to sit there and to structure it, because writing, there's a lot of structure involved in writing. Especially, even if you're blogging, it doesn't matter. There's still some sort of structure. How many words you want to put out, and, if you're telling a story, there's so much structure when it comes to that. So that requires your brain to really slow down and to just take in and settle in. But the amount of time it takes to do that, and then to put things down, and then the edit, and then the publish. I mean, you're looking at a simple blog could be at least an hour. It's all said and done. And there's only, I say it's only 24 hours in a day, but really there's only 24 hours in a day. 6 to 8 of those you're sleeping. The other 6 to 8 you're working. And then the other 8 you're dedicated to doing other things, between spending time with your family and all that. So it's about budgeting time, really, at the end of the day. It's really about budgeting time. But, am I going to try to do it at some point? Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to give up on it, obviously. But it's just that it has to hit me at the right time. Like tonight, I'm doing this because I want to do this. I haven't done a solo podcast in about a week, And, I have to finish recording this. I got to get to recording my wrestling podcast with my guys. So it's one of those things where, at the end of the day, one day I'll get to it. I'll get to the point, maybe, probably when football come back, I'll probably get to the point where I'm going to be in the mood to write more, or maybe with wrestling, pro wrestling, picks up, the crowds are back, we'll be back at WWE, especially next month. Maybe the motivation comes back, we'll want to write. I don't know. But because a lot of stuff I talk about here, I can also write down in the blog as well, too. But I just don't, because I just don't have the motivation just to settle down. Because again, writing is so intimate, man. It's so intimate. It's the one medium where you can't lie to yourself at the end of the day. Because it's you and your brain being one with each other. So that's honestly the reason why I've been written in so long. And I'm not proud of it, but it is what it is at the end of the day. So anyway. So I really enjoyed this NBA playoffs, though, for the most part. Like I said, it feels wide open as we're now nearing the end of the semifinals. Only, as of right now, as we're recording this, only one playoff series is actually in its conclusion in the second round. Phoenix Suns won their series in a sweep over Denver, which the result isn't surprising. It's just the way it happened. The fact it was a sweep is surprising, obviously. But you got that. You have, right as you speak, I was saying, the Nets and the Bucks, 3-2 Brooklyn now, over the Bucks right now, up by 10 right now, late in the third quarter. That can go 7 games. You got game 6s tomorrow, the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard, up 3-2 against the Jazz. You have the Hawks up, also 3-2 against the Sixers in that meltdown from game 5. When the Hawks were down 26 points at one point, and was down like I think 14 late in the fourth quarter, middle of the fourth quarter. So it's one of those. This playoffs feels wide open, and the reason it feels wide open is more so this. It feels wide open because of the injuries. You got a lot of key players out now. A lot of the blame could be because of the fact that we rushed back, shortened off season, of course, due to COVID, things of that nature. Look, you have Kyrie Irving's out, probably rest of the series, maybe the playoffs. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard got hurt. He's going to be out. We're hearing it's possibly a torn ACL. We don't know yet. He's out Game 6, obviously. James Harden was hurt for most of this series. He came back for Game 5. Chris Paul got hurt. He's okay now, but now he's in COVID protocol. There's so much key injuries. Anthony Davis, of course, had his issues in the first round against Phoenix. So there's so much going on. That's taken away from a otherwise really fun playoff run here so far. I really enjoyed, especially at nighttime. I put my kids to bed, and we have in my house we have a 2 TV setup, and I only did that because of the playoffs. Because my wife and I, we have shows to watch together too. So what we do is on the main TV downstairs, we'll have the what we're watching on the main screen, and then I'll have on whatever playoff game is on at the time, and on the smaller screen, and we'll have that running on mute, and when we're watching together or binging together, we're watching it on the main TV. Because this is dedication to every night. The NBA playoffs are definitely an every night thing. Now once we get to conference finals, it gets a little more trickier, a little more spacious, but first 2 rounds is definitely every night, multiple games, and that's what it is. But it's been a good, fun playoffs outside of injuries. It's been really sad to see these injuries and from key players. Like I said, Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers can't catch a break. Now they won that Game 5, against the Jazz. Paul George playing phenomenal, because, playing like playoff piece instead of pandemic P. But does that sustain in Game 6? The same with Brooklyn obviously up 3-2 now. Right, what's what happens here? Like I said, they're up late. They're down late in this game. Well, late through a quarter. See if this holds up. But the injuries has been kind of the main story of this whole playoff run. The other big story in the NBA right now, and it seems it came out of nowhere in the last couple of days, is the drama right now going on in Dallas with the Mavericks. So, you have this situation that came out where this story came out a couple of days ago with The Athletic, about how Luka Doncic is not happy with the way things run in front office. Now, at the time, we thought it was just some internal leak, whatever, someone just trying to get a story out there, and of course Mark Cuban came out and immediately shot the story down. But then now you're seeing things starting to happen in the last 72 hours. You see Donnie Nelson, the GM, he's supposed to be fired. Now they said it was mutual, but now he's saying it wasn't mutual and all that. And then today we have Rick Carlisle. The coach who's been the most tenured coach. Second most tenured coach in the league next to Greg Popovich. He resigns today from the team after 14 years being a team. Or 13 years, I think it is. I think it's 13 years, actually. Point is, there's something going on in Dallas. Between Luka's discontent, between obviously Donnie Nelson, who has been in the team 25 years, and also the guy that scouted Luka Doncic. And this supposedly stems from Bob Balgaris, who's a professional gambler who got the job, but Mark Cuban hired him because he knew he was, I don't know what the term is. He supposedly was a real smart guy. I mean, listen to him on the Bill Simmons podcast back in the day. He knew about numbers and how to get value and all that in terms of, for coaching, in terms of if any information you can provide to Rich Carlisle or anybody in the organization, he was good at being able to decipher that. Which helped, I guess, kept Dallas afloat somewhat for the last decade since winning a championship. I mean, they haven't won a playoff series since winning that title back in 2011. But worth noting, Luka Doncic is supposedly can re-up his rookie deal and get the max contract. I think it's at $220 million over 5 years, which he has said supposedly that he does plan to still sign that contract. So if he signs that contract, you still have him locked up. But there is the fear that if you don't take care of Luka or make him happy, that maybe he could walk. Look, I don't think I can see him leaving that kind of money on the table. But anything is possible, man. Anything is possible. So you don't want to write anything off. But in the case of the Mavericks, there's a lot of drama last 72 hours. Between the firings and resigns and then discontent for the player who's arguably the best player in basketball right now. Arguably, I say arguably because it's probably Kevin Durant. But I'm just saying. But we'll see. Anyway, before I go, last thing here, Charles Barkley, one of my heroes, actually. He was in the news this week because he did a radio interview, I think, in Washington, D.C., talking about cancel culture. I guess TNT is now owned by AT&T, and you know what Charles Barkley is. Charles Barkley is very vocal, very, very authentic, very, very honest to a fault. Some people like it, some people hate it. Depends who you are. Charles Barkley does not give a shit. Probably is why I love him so much because he's been the same guy post-retirement as he was the same guy during retirement, and he's the same guy today at 58 years old. Charles Barkley was quoted on a radio show talking about cancel culture. I'm going to read some of this article I got from USA Today to get a little more understanding. Here's his view. Give me 1 second, and I'll talk to you. Here we go, right over here. Okay, so here's the piece from the article that I read on Barkley talking about cancel culture, which I do, for the most part, agree with him for most of the things he says, but something here. He says, quote, "I'm trying to hang on for another couple of years until I'm 60, and then they can kiss my ass. I'm only working till 60, which is, by the way, 2 years away from 60. Quote, I've already told them that I'm not working until the day I die. That's just stupid. And if I don't have enough money by now, I'm an idiot anyway. They should fire me anyway." Barkley says he blames the current stigma of, quote, cancel culture, unquote, where past behavioral comments can land you in hot water. Quote, "If you crack a joke the wrong way, they're like, oh, no, you crossed the line." Quote, "I mean, they won't even let me talk about San Antonio anymore when I'm always talking about their big old woman down in San Antonio. They're like, Charles, we got one lady who wrote an article." I'm like, first of all, I didn't call anybody personally fat in San Antonio. I was just joking around. His bosses at Turner Sports have talked to him frequently about taking jokes too far. Barkley, quote, "That's all we ever talk about behind the scenes, like, yo, man, be careful about going in this direction." I'm like, yo, man, we can't have any fun anymore? Okay. So I kind of, when it comes to culture and whatnot, I see eye Barkley. I think it's unhealthy for people to go through people going through old tweets and old comments from 10, 15 years ago. Especially bothers me when it comes with kids. Someone who's maybe 22 years old and then 10 years ago was on Twitter at 12 years old saying dumb shit. Like, what is the point? To me, it's unhealthy. Like, we're not going to judge the 12-year-old in the same way we judge the 22-year-old, are we? So that's one part of cancel culture I don't like. Now, should people be held accountable for things they said? Absolutely. First off, people, for the 9,000th time I've said this podcast for the last decade, if you even think you have remotely troubling things you might have even said at the age of 15 or 14 or whatever, delete your tweets. Delete your tweets. Because there are people who are doing this shit, going through old tweets and old messages and all that from yesteryear to take you down. To me, it's not healthy. I don't like it at all. So, delete your tweets. Now, the one thing I will disagree with Barkley is this. You can't be insulting people like that. Now, to his credit, he doesn't insult specific people. He didn't say that this person, Nancy, or this person, Paula, is fat. He's saying San Antonio to the city because he has a history of San Antonio there. You know, that doesn't necessarily bother me as much, although it's still, you know, it's bothersome a little, but that's Charles, man. He's always been this way. And I don't want to cop out for him like that because I know people listen to podcasts be like, so why can't you put Charles Barkley for it? You know, what the hell? I get it. I totally get it. But, you know, he's not insulting people directly. Do you prefer not say anything at all? Probably. Yeah, maybe. I don't find it productive anyway, to be honest with you. But my larger problem with cancel culture is not so much that people aren't being held accountable, because they should be held accountable. It's this idea that this person is now going to take the time to go through old tweets just to hurt someone. That shit bothers me. That's what bothers me. So, other than that, though, you know, Chuck, he's saying he'll be done in 2 years. It'll be a sad day when he's done, because I love Charles Barkley. One of my heroes. Because I love how honest he is, man, to a fault. I wish people were more honest in that way. You can still be honest and dial it back a little bit too. And yeah, if Charles needs to dial it back, then dial it back, you know. But anyway, that's it for this podcast. Again, for June 17th, 2021. Again, on Twitter at EJChris7. Until the next one, yeah, we will talk soon. So later.